Okay, so our final concept is non-monic quadratic trinomials. It's similar to monic quadratic, but there's a lot more working out involved, okay, with these questions. And as I mentioned before, these are called non-monic simply because if you look at the coefficient of x squared, or the number in front of x squared, it's more than 1. You can see all these numbers here, okay. Okay, now for some reason, in this particular unit or exercise, they have included some monic ones on this page. So this is a monic quadratic trinomial, so that's question 1b, and I think that's it. And question 2h looks like it potentially a mistake. But the others are all non-monic quadratic trinomials. So these are done a bit different, and there's a lot more working out than the monic trinomials. All right, so what I might do, because they need a fair bit of working and there's not much space here, I will take question 1a, which is 2x squared plus 13x plus 15, and just write it here. Okay, 2x squared plus 13x plus 15, there's your question. We're going to use a method, there's a few ways to do this, but we're going to use a method called the PSF method. So what you do, you actually write down P, then you write down S, F, that's why it's called the PSF method. You write these down on the side, and you see, when we had the monic trinomials, we said what numbers multiply to give 15 and add to give 13. Well, that no longer works here because we've now got a 2 at the front that we need to factor in, that 2 there. So what we do is we take the 2 and multiply it by the 15, which is 30. So now we say, instead of saying what numbers multiply to give 15 and add to give 13, we now say what numbers multiply to give 30 and add to give 13. Because now the product is that times that, which is 30, okay? So once you have written down the product and the sum, so once you've got the product is 30 and the sum is 13, now you have to find the factors. So what two numbers multiply to give 30 and add to give 13? So what numbers multiply to give 30 and add to give 13? Well, those numbers are 10 and 3. So 10 and 3, they're the numbers. So these are our numbers that we need to focus on now. Okay, so now what we do is we take the question, we leave this alone, excuse me, we'll leave the 2x squared alone, and we'll leave the 15 alone now. What we're going to do, we're going to rewrite the 13x. We're going to rewrite the 13x as 10x plus 3x. So, leave the 2x squared alone, leave the 15 alone, but rewrite the 13x as plus 10x plus 3x. So all we've actually done here is basically expanded that middle term. But to expand that middle term, we had to find the two factors, the 10 and the 3. Now we do grouping in pairs. So, like we did in the early on in the chapter, we group those two into one pair and we group these two in one pair. So we take out 2x and we're left with x plus 5 plus 3 outside of x plus 5. And now x plus 5 is a common factor, and we're left with 2x plus 3, like we did earlier on. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one. Question, we won't do B because that's a monic, we'll do C. 5t squared plus 4t minus 1. 5t squared plus 4t minus 1. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write down on the side we're going to write down on the side P, S, F. So the product now is the 5 times the minus 1, which is minus 5. So we're going to write that down as our product. The sum is plus 4, so that's 4. And so now we need to find the factors. What numbers multiply to give minus 5 and add to give 4? Well, those numbers are 5 and minus 1. These are our key numbers. That's in the green there, 5 and minus 1. Because 5 times minus 1 is minus 5, and 5 plus minus 1 is 4. So, what are we going to do now? We are, like we did before, we're going to leave the 5t squared alone. We're going to rewrite the plus 4t as 5t minus 1t, right? We're going to rewrite the plus 4t as, on the bottom right here, look at the green factors, 5t minus 1t. And we're going to leave the minus 1 right at the end. So what we've in fact done here, we've taken the 4t and rewritten it as 5t minus 1t. And we haven't touched the 5t squared or the minus 1. That's what you do in these questions. So now what you're going to do, put that back. Now we're going to do grouping in pairs. So 5t outside of t plus 1, minus 1 outside of t plus 1. And now t plus 1 is a common factor. And you're done. Okay. So you just need to practice quite a fair few of these to become really good at them. Let's do question 3H. Okay, this one over here. 4x squared plus x minus 5. 4x squared plus x minus 5. Again, we're going to write down here PSF. So the product is minus 20. The sum is the coefficient of x, the number in front of x, which is 1. So now what are our factors? What numbers multiply to give minus 20 and add to give 1? Those are 5 and minus 4. Now, I'm very fast at these. I've been doing this for a long time, finding the factors, but it might take you a bit of time, and that's okay. So now we're going to rewrite this as 4x squared plus 5x minus 4x. And then put the minus 5 back right at the end. Okay. Now, one of the things that I haven't mentioned, which I will mention now, is I can write, so we're replacing this x here, this middle term, with the 5x minus 4x. I'm allowed to rewrite this the other way around if I want. I don't have to put the 5 first, then the minus 4. In fact, what you should do, you should order these two numbers so that your next step is going to be very easy. I'll show you what I mean. If I continue this question as it is, I'll take our x as a common factor, 4x plus 5, minus 1, and I've got 4x plus 5, which now becomes 4x plus 5 outside of x minus 1. Okay. What I could have done is I could have rewritten the question as 4x squared minus 4x plus 5x. Okay. In other words, I could have taken this minus 4x and put it first. Okay. That's what I could have done if I really wanted to. Why would I consider doing that? Because if you have a look at now at factorising that, it's going to be much easier because I've got the 4's lining up and the 5's lining up, okay? So now I've got 4x outside of x minus 1 plus 5 outside of x minus 1, which is x minus 1 times 4x plus 5. And that's our final answer. Okay, so that's how you do non-monic quadratic trinomials. Now, what I have found in all of my years of experience is that when students do the monic quadratic. Remember what I said to you over here, for example, with this one. All you simply do is open up two sets of brackets. You put an x here and an x here because it's x squared. And you ask yourself, what numbers multiply to give 6 and add to give minus 5? And those numbers are minus 3, minus 2, and we're done. There's nothing else to do there. I find when students do the non-monic quadratic trinomials, this section here, because they get used to writing PSF, when they go back and do monic, they start writing PSF and doing the same thing, but there's no need to write down PSF for these questions. All you do is open up two brackets, do that and that. What numbers multiply to give 4 and add to give 4? 2 and 2, and we're done. There's no need to be writing PSF here. Okay, that's the non-monic quadratic trinomials, and that pretty much completes the factorising chapter. Factorising is a topic that requires a lot of practice, and that's the only way you become really good. I will come back and do one final video session on mixed miscellaneous questions. So you can see you've got on this page just different types of factorising mixed into the one page. So you need to identify what type of method to use. Good luck practicing.